All right, guys. This I'll upload this later, regardless. So doesn't matter if anyone's in here right now. I do hope that you tune in. Um, I'm just gonna go through a few records from my collection that I just randomly pulled. Some of my collection is organized alphabetically. It was all done that way, but then I took in a bunch of records, and my own laziness prevents me from always filing them back in the right place. So right now it's a mixture of alphabetically organized and unorganized chaos. So I just randomly got a stack out of the rock section, or what used to be the rock section of my record section. Right now genres are all mixed up too. So anyway, this is one I was lucky enough to score probably a couple years ago, except Balls to the Wall. And if you haven't heard Accept Balls to the Wall, as a metal fan, you had better fix that if you are a metal fan, that's for sure. They're a German band. I'm not exactly a historian when it comes to Accept, but it's a really cool album. It's a really heavy album. The lead track, "Balls to the Wall," is probably the standout track. And let me see, "Fast as a Shark," I believe, is on here too. But very good album. Hold on one second. There we go. Jesus ain't a bad dude to look like, and I don't look like Obama, but he wouldn't be a bad dude to look like anyway. Where am I from? I'm from Kansas. Second album we're going to take a look at, AC/DC's Back in Black. Most of you, if you're a rock fan, you've heard every song on this album. This is probably their biggest album as far as mainstream success that I know of, anyway. And I'm a lifelong AC/DC fan, Atlantic Records. The notable thing about this album is, like I said, it was the most mainstream and commercially acceptable, successful album they did. I can't play it, or they'll flag my damn account due to copyright, or I would, dude. AC/DC Back in Black. This is the first album right after death of singer Bon Scott. And Bon Scott was not the first lead singer of AC/DC. The first lead singer, and I'm not going to remember his name right offhand, you'll have to Google it or YouTube it. But I believe the name of the song was Little Schoolgirl or Can I Sit Next to You, something like that. But he was originally, they released a single with another lead singer, and he was nothing like Bon Scott. He was nothing like Brian Johnson. They were a very popular sounding band then. Okay, hold on one second. Right there. There you go. All right, guys. Like I said, AC/DC Back in Black. I agree with you there. Hope you had a good Easter yesterday. I really do. Me and my family did. My wife and son went out to see the Minecraft movie. Then we had dinner together. I finished off the evening watching WrestleMania with my wife, and we both attended church in the morning. Her in person and me online. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. Brody was the name of my first dog. And my favorite wrestler, Bruiser Brody. So cool screen name. Aerosmith Toys in the Attic. This is a really cool album. I'm glad to have it in my collection. I wish the cover was better, but it's not. But it's got Walk This Way, Adam's Apple, and a bunch of other notable songs. Walk This Way being the most notable on the album, I believe. Let's take a look at that. I am talking to you right now. Sweet Emotion is also on here. Sorry, my eyesight is not that good. But several hits on there, and it's early Aerosmith in the 70s is my favorite era of Aerosmith, that's for sure. Which, speaking of which, Aerosmith Live bootleg. This album, surprisingly, because I've heard a lot of bad reviews of them live during this period, and just standard labels right there on both of them. But this live album is really, really intense. They did an extremely good job of capturing Aerosmith live. The guitar work is off the chain on this one. Steven Tyler's vocals are more intense than a lot of the stuff I've heard of during that era of live. This is one of my favorite live albums of all time. I highly suggest you get it. If you're not an Aerosmith fan, I can't pick an era to point you to. I would personally say get their greatest hits and go from there. Because I like their 90s era stuff too. Get a Grip and Permanent Vacation, songs like Cryin', and 80s Janie's Got a Gun, things like that. All eras of Aerosmith are worth checking out, that's for sure. The price for something like that, this is for my personal collection. I would sell it at some point, but right now it's not. I do have a lot of albums for sale, and I may do that on a live stream soon. Hey, hello there. Thanks for joining. Dude, I will. I do plan on doing things like that, so please keep that in mind. And I didn't mean to just shoot you down. I really wasn't trying to do that, but yeah, that one will probably be on the chopping block eventually because I'm out of space. But all right. Albert King, Livewire Blues Power. This is a fantastic album. Fantastic. Albert King is the king of the flying V, as they call him. He's a blues guitarist. Played flying V's for the most part. Dude was amazing. He's got a tone unlike any other. One of my favorite blues guitarists. I highly suggest you check him out. His more well-known songs are things like I Ain't Superstitious, which was covered by Megadeth, and then a million other blues guitarists have covered it. And let's see. My mind is going blank, but I Ain't Superstitious is definitely one of his better known ones. Sorry, I haven't been awake that long, so, and plus my brain's not all that functioning at all times, so, I'll remember facts about it after you guys are long gone. And hey, hi there, how you doing, man? This one here is one of my favorites from my collection. Alice Cooper, Love It to Death. Features Caught in a Dream, I'm 18, Long Way to Go, Black Juju, It's My Body, Second Coming, Ballad of Dwight Fry, which is one of my favorites. I don't have Abbey Road, dude. I was just telling my old lady that I need to get Abbey Road for the collection. This one here is 1970s Alice Cooper, not the original sleeve. Just green label there. 1970s Alice Cooper was peak Alice Cooper, and of course Alice Cooper is the name of the band, not the lead singer. He's gone to where it's just he's known as Alice Cooper. Vincent Freer is, but originally the band was called Alice Cooper, not the artist. I do have AC/DC, dude. I had this in there earlier. That's the only AC/DC I have right now, is Back in Black. We were actually just talking about how Bon Scott or Brian Johnson were the original lead singers. The original lead singer, like I said, his name skips my mind, but look it up on YouTube. They didn't sound anything like they did with Bon Scott or Brian Johnson. It was a much poppier band at first, and there's actually a video of their performance, and the original single is online available. Dude, I need a new copy of Pet Sounds. Mine got stolen in the last town we were in. Pet Sounds is one of the most amazing albums ever laid down. Brian Johnson is a genius. Brian Wilson, I'm sorry. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys is a genius. God Only Knows, I think, is one of the most beautiful, perfect songs ever written. Same with Good Vibrations. Dude, yeah, I gotta hurry up on getting me a copy of that. I do have a lot of Beatles in my collection. I had some of them out yesterday. I've got a colored Beatles set, colored vinyl too. Dude, I agree. Pet Sounds is amazing. It stands up with Sgt. Pepper's, all that. The Beatles and the Beach Boys had a good, healthy, and sometimes unhealthy competition with each other. Brian Wilson, unfortunately, it drove him crazy trying to, not literally, he had a lot of issues, as I do and as a lot of people do, but he literally did not help his mental health with it, that's for sure. He obsessed over Sgt. Pepper's. He obsessed over Rubber Soul, and he tried to always outdo them. And the Beatles kind of made references to him in their music too. The song Back in the USSR is definitely not only a direct message to Russia, where they were banned at the time, but music-wise, it was a direct hit at the Beach Boys too, that's for sure. I don't have any Who at the moment. I just put a couple in my flea market booth. I do have Revolver and Rubber Soul. I do have some Pink Floyd as well. Wish You Were Here in the Wall, I believe. Bajas. If any of you are familiar with them, they were the original, the first ever goth band is what they get credit for the song Bela Lugosi's Dead. Their song Stigmata Martyr was featured in the 1980s horror movie Night of the Demons. Yes, dude, Bajas is great. I'm covering that just so my video doesn't get flagged, but Bajas is amazing, and of course they went on to become, the core of that band went on and evolved into Love and Rockets, which I am a huge Love and Rockets. Oh, dude, yeah. I got L.A. Woman, Strange Days, I believe, the self-titled. I need a copy of Morrison Hotel. That's for sure. I also have Weird Scenes Inside the Gold Mine, which is a compilation album. I did have the Other Voices album with the remaining members of the Doors without Jim, but honestly, it was just collecting dust on my shelf, and I ended up selling it. This one here, Bad Company. Hey, thank you. Dude, I've heard that before, that I could play a Viking in a movie. Bad Company, Straight Shooter, man. Feel Like Making Love, Shooting Star, which is about Hendrix. Great album. This also, Paul Rogers, the lead singer of Bad Company, now has gone on and is taking Freddie Mercury's place in Queen for reunion tours. I don't have any Cream at the moment, but, and I can't remember the dang name of the album, but the album of Sunshine of Your Love with the colorful, psychedelic, pinkish cover. I need to get a copy of that. Like I said, the title always escapes me, but Cream was a heck of a band, dude, for real. Eric Clapton is one of the greatest blues guitarists alive. He has spent his life studying Robert Johnson and other blues guys. I definitely respect Clapton and Cream. Ginger Baker, of course. This one here, Got Lucky and Got Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits. I'm 18, It's My Body, Desperado, Under My Wheels, Be My Lover, School's Out, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Hello, Hooray, Muscle of Love. This is a really good album. Dude, Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf is one of my favorite bands of all time. I've got the 16 greatest hits. I've got Monster, of course. I've got Live at a Birthday Party. Live at Your Birthday Party, I believe, is the name of it. Everything Steppenwolf I can find. I did have a John Kay album, but it kind of collected dust, so I let it go away. But Steppenwolf, any album I can get by them. I got Steppenwolf Gold, too, in my collection. Boston, I don't have at the moment. I don't know. Hey, hi there, Sigma. That's a funny name. Alice Cooper, Flush the Passion, or Flush the Fashion. It's a decent album. Leather Boots, Aspirin Damage, Nuclear Infected, Model Citizen, Dance Yourself to Death. It's not a noteworthy album as far as hits, but it totally is worth your time. Let me grab a few more at random out of here and see what we can find. Alright, guys. This is a good one. Cheap Thrills, Janis Joplin and Big Brother and the Holding Company. This is actually, it's Big Brother and the Holding Company is the name of the band. Janis was the lead singer. Black Sabbath. Oh, dude, I love Black Sabbath. I've got a few of their albums as well. This one, Cheap Thrills. Big Brother and the Holding Company were a way, way cool band, and it's really sad that they get lumped into, oh, this is just Janis Joplin. Janis was amazing, and I love Janis, always have. But it was a band before she went on her own, and these guys totally deserve credit. They were a killer backing band. They were a killer blues rock band, which the 60s had a lot of. I have Sabbath Sabotage, Live Evil, with which that had Dio on vocals, Paranoid, and we Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, which is the best compilation. John Sebastian live. Notable thing about him is he's just an all-around cool dude. But he was in the Lovin' Spoonful, which had the hit "Summer in the City." He also wrote the song "Welcome Back," which was featured on the TV show "Welcome Back, Kotter," which had a Kotter. I pronounce things different sometimes. But yeah, I guess he kind of does, huh? But he wrote the theme song to that, the opening intro song to that, and that featured John Travolta as a member of the cast long before he ever did any movies. I do have a couple Rush in my collection. I'm not sure which one at the moment. Another John Sebastian. This is the one with "Welcome Home" on it, which, like I said, is the Welcome Back Kotter theme. The dude's just a laid-back, cool dude. His music always has a fun vibe to it, and he performed at Woodstock, and his performance from Woodstock was pretty laid-back and cool. He was obviously on acid at the time, as most people were there, or most of the performers, at least. All right, here's a fun one. Jimi Hendrix, live at Monterey. Monterey Pop. Without this festival, Hendrix wouldn't have reached the heights that he did. This is the famous concert in which he set his guitar on fire and smashed it for the very first time, or at least the very first time it was caught on camera. And his performance is just off the hook. This set includes Killing Floor, Foxy Lady, Like a Rolling Stone, Hey Joe, of course, Wind Cries Mary, Purple Haze, Wild Thing. Such a cool album. Hey Joe, man, that song was recorded by Billy Roberts originally, amongst very many others, including Body Count with Ice-T did a cover of it later. But yeah, I got some Kiss, man. But Hey Joe, I just had to pick this up real quick because that opening riff to Hey Joe is... Anyway, Sorry for that. I mess around with my ukulele a lot on here too. I do have some Kiss, dude. I am a huge Kiss fan. Huge Kiss fan. 1970s era, 80s and 90s era. Anything Kiss I find I keep. Kiss Alive is probably my least favorite, and I know that's a lot of favorites. That's a favorite album for a lot of Kiss fans, but to me, it just doesn't stand up there with my personal favorite live albums. This here, Eddie and the Cruisers soundtrack and John Cafferty Band. Which one is this? Tough All Over, which Tough All Over is a solid album, but this right here, what's that? Dude, I need a blunt too, man. I hear you. I'll be doing that right after this. Eddie and the Cruisers, if you haven't seen the movie, everybody interested in rock music should see this movie. It's a really passionate movie. The music in the band, not the storyline, but the music in the band is kind of featured around John Cafferty Band, the sax player, all that, because it's just, the music was already there. They didn't write Eddie and the Cruisers music, and they don't play Eddie and the Cruisers songs. Eddie and the Cruisers play John Cafferty songs. That's kind of the way it goes. It's a great movie starring Michael Parr, and the soundtrack is amazing. I mean, that's what we're discussing. John Cafferty is the voice behind Eddie Wilson and Eddie and the Cruisers, and he just has one of those voices that when you see him and hear him, it's like, man, where'd that voice come from? And when they first came out, they're from the New Jersey scene. A lot of people thought it was Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, which I get that kind of sound-wise, but vocal-wise, I don't feel that way, but, Anyway, John Cafferty, I'm a huge fan. And how they got involved in the movie is the script was already written, and they were looking for a band and still trying to work on the soundtrack and stuff and try to figure out how it was going to go. And one of the producers remembered, hey, I saw this band in a bar about a year ago, and it was the John Cafferty Band. And anyway, history kind of wrote itself after that. And back to Woodstock, Joe Cocker. Joe Cocker has one of the greatest voices on the face of the earth. I believe he's dead now. Dude, we should, yeah. His performance with a little help from my friends at Woodstock. If you haven't seen it, please look it up. It's one of the greatest performances of all time. This album here has "Dear Landlord," "She Came Through the Bathroom Window," which is a great cover. "Something," which is a great cover. "Darling Be Home Soon," great song. I do. Let me see if I can remember it without completely. Dude, Oregon on the West Coast, United States, man. That's really rough, I know, but I never sat down and tried to learn the song on ukulele all the way through, but I figured out the intro because I used to play a little guitar. Dude, I would totally let you pull up too, man. Wish we could smoke on here, but then I'd get for some reason, they let certain channels get away with that and certain channels not. And a good way for them to demonetize me. I'm not monetized yet by any means, but all right, dude, man. When you get here, we'll throw some Rolling Stones or something on that thing, or some Sabbath, and on the turntable. If you were close by, though, dude, the offer would be there. Just saying. Johnny Rivers is the king. Oh, dude, for real. So is Tumblin' Dice, man. Johnny Rivers was like the king of the cover song. Dude has done more cover songs and had hits with other people's songs than anyone else I know, besides maybe Dude, I do too. I love vinyl. Besides maybe Weird Al, doing parodies, but like Maybelline from Chuck Berry, Memphis from Chuck Berry is on here. Midnight Special, which is a Belly, then later covered and made a hit by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Notable Secret Agent Man is on here, which Johnny Rivers actually wrote that song, which is one of the, and Poor Side of Town is on here, which he actually wrote too. Everything else on here is a cover. Tracks of My Tears, which was Smokey Robinson. Summer Rain, I can't remember the artist behind that. Rockin' Pneumonia and Boogie Woogie Flu, which he did not write. And Blue Suede Shoes, which is an Elvis hit, but it was actually written by Carl Perkins, I believe. Don't quote me on that. It might have been Lieber and Stoller. Now let's grab a few more out of the collection, guys. Here we go. Somebody was just asking about these. Dude, I Put a Spell on You by CCR is one of the greatest tracks, man, and it's very underrated. The original by Screamin' Jay Hawkins, if you haven't heard it, and I assume you have, it's fantastic too, but Creedence did a lot of songs that had that kind of tone and feel to them. They had that swampy, they're from California, Bakersfield area, but they had that swampy bayou, New Orleans feel to them, like tells of voodoo and ghost, and had that backwoods creepiness vibe to them. Like I saw a man walking on the water, walk on the water. That's the name of the song. Later on, dude, probably gonna play some ukulele and smoke. Speaking of, but yeah, Creedence, dude. It Came Out of the Sky. That's another cool song. Just thinking of their kind of their off the wall stuff like that. Here's the Kiss collection. I have a lot more than these. I have a lot with just sleeves because the covers were trashed and the records are like near mint or at least playable. And most of them are near mint, but some are just playable but still sound good. I have a ton in there, but Kiss Animalize, which is from their very or from the '80s period. Sorry, I was trying to read. And Heaven's on Fire is on this, which is a great song. I believe this had Eric Carr on it. So Eric Carr, of course, died in the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s. He died of cancer. Dude, I love Kiss. Another one from the Eric Carr years, Creatures of the Night, which has I Love It Loud, Killer, War Machine, Saint and Sinner. Yes, Carr was the drummer. He replaced Peter Criss, of course. He died right before the Revenge album. But yeah, he was definitely a notable, during a notable lineup. Animalize, Creatures of the Night are both great albums. I have never heard a Kiss album that I didn't like, honestly. I really haven't. All the way from anywhere. Well, Revenge was a favorite album of mine. Everything after that, I kind of started to lose touch with, like Psycho Circus and all that. They had a couple notable songs, but didn't grab me like 90s and back Kiss did. And Kiss during the 70s is my favorite era, but I say that about a lot of bands because 70s hard rock was a very special thing. This is my favorite Kiss album. Dressed to Kill, Ladies in Waiting, Two Timer, Come On and Love Me, Rock Bottom, God, what a song, and Rock and Roll All Night, which is their biggest hit, was on this album. This would be the album I'd suggest if somebody said, I've never heard Kiss, where should I start? I'd say start with this and then move on to Destroyer would be my opinion. But here, I was just talking about this earlier, Kiss Alive, which I'm lucky enough to have an original pressing of. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the inner sleeves that it originally had. This is not one of my favorite Kiss albums and not one of my favorite live albums by any means, but I'm glad that I have it. It's definitely put Kiss on the map. I know that. Dude, yeah. Kiss is one of my favorite little music obsessions. Dude, yeah, great albums. This is one I just picked up that I haven't had a chance to listen to yet. Kate Bush. I'm not all that familiar with her. Running Uphill, I think that's the name of it. I don't think it's on this album, but Running Uphill, I believe, was recently a hit for Stranger Things, the soundtrack. Let me grab a few more out of the collection. But anyway, Kate Hill was a pop artist during the 80s, I believe. Like I said, I'm not all that familiar with her. Next up, Bob Seger, Night Moves. My favorite Seger album. Got The Fire Down Below, which is a killer track. Night Moves. Sunspot Baby, which is a killer song. Rock and Roll Never Forgets. Yes, this is a must-own for any rock collection, even if you consider yourself a Seger fan or not. This era of Seger should be in your collection. Stranger in Town, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band has Old Time Rock and Roll, which is a killer track, one of my favorites. Not so many other ones on here that would be notable to you if you're not a Seger fan, but my opinion, Still the Same is a great song. Till It Shines, Brave Strangers, the famous Final Scene, We've Got Tonight, Ain't Got No Money. This is a solid album. Solid album all the way through. Like I said, I highly suggest Bob Seger Night Moves. Every song on it is killer. It's probably the perfect Seger album. Of course, Turn the Page isn't on there, which is most people's favorite Seger song. But trust me, if you grab Night Moves, it'll be on your turntable a lot. Now, one of my favorite rock bands of all time start here. Blue Oyster Cult. Secret Treaties, which is part of their Black and Red collection, which is 3 albums that was done with black and red cover art during the early days, the first 3 albums. I'm 47, dude. Braun or Jordan? Jordan, dude. I'm from the Jordan generation. I'm not a huge sports guy, but Air Jordan, are you kidding me? He was a phenomenon in the 90s. Great cover art. A lot of people critique this because it's a World War II plane, and everybody tried to compare it to Nazism and stuff. The guys aren't Nazis. They're Jews. A couple of them are Jewish, in fact. But cool thing about the art is not only do you have the symbol on every cover, of course, but check this out. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a skull skeleton driving it, which is very cool. I'm sorry about that. Let's see. Tyranny and Mutation, another of the Black and Red series. Like I said, called that because of the art. This has the red and the black, OD'd on life itself, Hot Rails to Hell, I love that. Wings Wetted Down, Teen Archer, Mistress of the Salmon. Very cool stuff. Blue Oyster Cult get their name because Sandy Pearlman, a producer, which was a big part of Blue Oyster Cult's history, he named the band and the mythology behind it that they were supposed to be this band from outer space, and even gave them all stage names, which then they all went back to their actual names except for Buck Dharma, the guitarist, who kept the stage name and his fictional name. But Sandy Pearlman also wrote a lot of their songs, and in fact imagined an entire concept album called Imaginez, which came out years later and unfortunately didn't do well and never came to fruition about his, his vision for it. But still notable, everything. Barg Ryan's. Yeah, he's not I probably do look a little like him. I'm familiar with who he is. I'm familiar with that whole story. Like Until the Light Takes Us is a really decent documentary on dark subjects like that. Blue Oyster Cult. This is my favorite Blue Oyster Cult album. Fire of Unknown Origin. This is a perfect album from beginning to end. Fire of Unknown Origin. Burnin' for You, which was a huge hit for Blue Oyster Cult. Veteran of the Psychic Wars. Soul Survivor. Heavy Metal. The Black and Silver. Vintage of the Pack. Another Dark or After Dark. Joan Crawford, which is a killer song. Don't Turn Your Back. Of course, there's the symbol, of course. This is the album I would recommend to you if you're just getting into Blue Oyster Cult. It's not the first I heard. The first album I ever heard by Blue Oyster Cult was actually this. On Your Feet or On Your Knees. Of course, the symbol right there. I love the black gloves too. That's a nice touch, the leather gloves. Of course, the black Cadillac in front of the old church building. I originally heard Blue Oyster Cult and this album because my mom worked at a laundromat managing it. And right next door there was a junk store, a furniture and junk store, and they had old beat up, like really beat up records for 25 cents a piece. So my mom, and I got a turntable. So my mom would bring me home, this was age 13, 14. My mom would bring me home albums like this. She brought this home to me, not this one. That one was so trash, it skipped a lot. But that, Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, etc. So I got a very good musical start as far as rock music goes from that era, discovering new stuff. Creedence and stuff, of course, I had heard throughout my entire life because my mom was a fan and played them in the house and stuff. But Kiss, all kinds of bands she didn't know anything about. She just dragged home the albums for me based on if she thought they looked cool. On one second. This one here, Buck Dharma, lead guitarist for Blue Oyster Cult. Flat Out is the name of the album. This shows his love for I feel like there's a lot of doo-wop and early rock influences in it, and it's a really good album. He's an underrated guitarist. I think you should check that out for sure. There's a symbol right there, Agents of Fortune. This, of course, has Don't Fear the Reaper on it. Sinful Love, Tattoo Vampire. Great album. It really is. Blue Oyster Cult, honestly, is probably my favorite rock band. Definitely for the last 10 years or so. All right, guys, I have a call from my wife coming in, and just to make sure it's not an emergency or anything, I'm going to have to go ahead and answer that. Thank you for hanging out. I'll be on again tomorrow. Thank you guys so much. Please spin some records, play some tunes, play an instrument. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, man. Have a great day.